Welcome to Kick on Healthy Relationship with the Curb. One of your hosts, Steve Vaccaro. Stephanie McPhail has taken the day off. She has everything's okay. She has some family stuff to take care of, and we do a lot of shows together for the last 3 years. And the last couple of weeks, I had to take some time off, and Stephanie covered for me. So now I'm going to be covering for her. But as a team, we've done this show for over 3 years. Her book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, recognize and overcome toxic relationships so you can be the best life now. And I think her book and her workbook has helped women and men internationally for so many years now. I'm so grateful that she's a co-host, she's a friend, she's a colleague, and we share a lot of stories of people that need to get out of those toxic relationships on this show. So I thank Stephanie for all the work that she does and what she'll continue to do. She has a beautiful family. She's in Texas, and she's a fellow New Yorker who hightailed it out of here during the pandemic and is seeking the better life in Texas. And we love her very much. So have a great night, and we will see Stephanie McPhail next week. I myself have a program, a nonprofit called Chapters Community Support Services, where we provide a network, we collaborate, we support, and we provide a platform for individuals or families in need that are going through transition. So as a psychologist, I work a lot with individuals with disabilities, families that are challenged with various situations, and families that really need that transitional support, because it's a tough world out there right now. During the pandemic, kids with disabilities or disadvantaged families have not had the services that they need because of the pandemic. A lot of it is cost-driven, and a lot of it is a focus that the work that we do at Chapters Community Support Services is so very important. So we'll continue to do that. As well, we have a network of shows. We have 20 shows now, all advocacy shows promoting positivity and promoting goodwill and supporting those that need that platform, providing a voice where unity and diversity meet one chapter at a time. We want people to share their story. If you're interested in becoming a guest or a host or supporting us, www.chaptersnetwork.org. You can contact us at 516-476-6271, or you can reach us out on Facebook. We have lots of YouTube shows out there. We're looking for new shows and new people that are doing great things. And tonight, we have a great guest here, Jeremy Roadruck from Florida. He's just newly in Florida. I just heard that he moved from Ohio 6 months ago. But this guy, he's a creator of the Roadmap to Relationship Mastery for Men, is a husband, father, international Kung Fu champion, and 6-degree master multi-time best-selling author, hypnotherapist, neurostrategist, and consultant, author of the only parenting book with a money-back guarantee. Jeremy is on a mission to help dads who lead a business to create strong marriages, raise amazing kids and grandkids, and have businesses that they love. He's been through bankruptcy, living in a tent in the woods, car repossession, kicked out of where he was living after his second lung collapse, closed his dream business, and more. And through it all, he's developed specific strategies and tools to help keeping the mindset playful and strong. Oh my goodness, what a guy this guy is. Jeremy, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you so very much. You've been in it, man.
Yes, sir. I have been through the ringer a few times, a couple of different adventures, and the lesson I teach to my students: win or learn is all that matters. There's no such thing as loss, because whenever you don't get the outcome you want, cool. What'd you learn from it? What are you going to do different? Because you're still alive, you're still in the game. So in my generation, it was like, you got another quarter, you could like put it in the machine, let's go. That metaphor doesn't work with kids anymore because they don't understand quarters in video games. But yes, sir, it's life comes at us and it's full contact and it does not pull its punches sometimes. So we got to learn to roll with it. Duck, dive, dip.
Wow, you definitely did. Let me ask you a question. I was actually on a radio interview this morning, and they asked me, would I trade in all the different adversities that I had growing up and different things for what you do now? I see you shaking your head no.
Absolutely not.
Answer that.
Yeah, I went to hell and back a couple of times and danced on the edge of do I want to be here or not? And having the answers and the clarity inside that, I don't wish the life that I've lived on anybody else because of some of the pain and difficulties I've faced. At the same time, I wouldn't take those away because they are who I am.
Did you ever have a why me moment? Like, why is this always happening to me? Or
Oh God, yes. Absolutely, yeah.
how'd you overcome that? I mean,
One of the big things with the question of why, and why tends to spin stories, justifications, rationalizations, and in a lot of circumstances, why doesn't really matter because we can never truly know. And I'll give you an easy example of that. My mom had 8 miscarriages. I was pregnancy number 7 of 10, and my parents only wanted 2. So I shouldn't exist. My brother was number 4. He shouldn't exist, yet here we are. And I can sit there and I can ask why, and I can ruminate on that, and I should feel guilty because I lived where several of my siblings did not. Or I can decide the meaning for myself. What do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? And when we go to the space of what and how, that's where we find our strength because that's about strategy. It's how do I want that to look, feel? How do I want to be? What impact do I want to make? What do I want people to say when I shuffle off this mortal coil at the end of my life? I get to choose that by how I show up. And if I get stuck in a place of why, I don't know, because it's Tuesday, move on, dude. And that can get us in motion sometimes because, borrow from Nietzsche, if you have a big enough why, you can handle any what. Let's just manufacture the why, and then we can get to where we want to go in a way that supports us and supports others. It's going to be sustainable. It's going to do really cool stuff.
Now, I read you lived in a tent. You had your car repossessed. When those things happen to you, I mean, most people would just shut it down. I mean, how did you handle that and how did you pivot?
Well, the living in a tent, I was doing Renaissance festivals and I didn't really have a place to stay. And so like I want to be here. I want to have this job, have this experience. So, I'm living in a tent. It was miserable. So I could sit there and feel sorry for myself and dig into myself, or I looked at who was around me and how can I add value? How can I connect to the people in the community that I was in? And we're in the woods and we've got like this campground. And then there were people who lived on site who had booths. Well, let me just go make friends and let me take what food I have and what resources I have. Let me add that to the community. And I know how to cook. I know how to use spices. There are things that I can do to add value. And so I focused on the things I could win. And because of that, I made some cool friends. I had some really cool experiences. And it took down that pressure. With the car getting repossessed, it's like, okay, who I am is greater than this. What did I do to create this situation? What can I control out of it? And again, I'm going back to the what's and hows. What can I control? Who do I know? And so I started running through people that I've added value to, communities, places that I've shown up. And it forced me to have to be resourceful because I'm not going to roll over and just lay here and die. Like, being a martial artist, you got to take a punch and keep moving. You can't let that impact hold you because then you get stuck. And if you've ever been in a fight, when someone hits you and they know they hurt you, they're going to hit you again, harder. Right. And so you've got to dig in to yourself, find those resources and find that resourcefulness. And sometimes it's by asking for help. Everything you're doing with your chapters idea is beautiful because sometimes people get overwhelmed and they just don't know. Well, if you just ask for help, somebody will pour into you, but they need to be invited. They're not going to stuff it down your throat. But if you say, hey, I could use some help, then they have all these abilities and talents and skills and network. You just got to ask. And sometimes people think that's weak, but actually asking for help when you're at the end of your rope is strength.
Right. I agree with you. And that story alone is inspirational because you turn a difficult situation living in a tent and you had all these amazing people around you. So you decided to network and connect with people and build a support system from there. And I would imagine that's what you do in your work because sometimes men, don't share their feelings a lot, or don't show their emotions, or if they cry, or if they show their emotions, it's a sign of weakness. Do you find that in the work that you do?
It can happen, yeah. And that's why I go on podcasts, I share part of my story because it normalizes. Guys get overwhelmed and overloaded. We 10 divorced dads a day end their lives. And it's for what? For BS, for a belief system. Well, I can't ask for help. If they do the math and they decide, well, I'm the problem, I'm a protector, I'm a provider. If I'm the problem, I'm going to remove myself. And that means permanent exit. But it's like, dude, you can't change anything then. And the people around you that were driving you that direction, they get to tell the story of your life. Do you want them to have that power, or do you want to keep it for yourself? Because you're still here. You can have another chapter. You can have another go at life, another phase. So what you feel is okay. But for a lot of guys, just admitting weakness or admitting that they're out of resources, it shuts them down. And it's like, dude, it's okay. Like, been there, probably been there worse than you. And that's okay. Because now you've hit rock bottom. Borrow from General George Patton. I don't care how far you fall. It's about how high you bounce. Right. So once you hit that rock, cool. Let's get the amplitude the other direction now. Are you done digging? Can we move forward? Sweet. Let's make that happen.
That's right. I like when you said, let's find another chapter. I'm going to use that word chapter. I'm going to use that in my work.
Yes, sir. It's perfect for everything you're doing, because, you know, people think, oh, I want my life to be different. It's like, cool. Quit reading the last chapter, because you can't get to the next one if you keep rereading how it used to be.
Right.
How it used to be got you here. Do you want to stay here? Do you want something better? Right? Sometimes think about a really bad movie. Like, it was so horrible. You got up in the middle of it and you walked out.
Right.
And then you see the movie on TV for free. Are you going to waste your life watching it? And most people say no. Mm-hmm. Cool. But how many people have a bad experience in life and they keep retelling that same story? And it's like, if that's all the words coming out of your mouth, then there's no space for you to say something different, for you to experience something different. So you got to let go of that past. It doesn't mean that it was okay, but what can we learn? How can we improve? What can we do different? Keep moving forward.
And that's interesting, because the experiences that we have in our past shape us to who we are now. And I think it's our ability or inability to use that experience in what you're doing in the here and now, but also in the future. And sometimes people are living in the past, recreating the same issues or the problems or the challenges, not really looking at it. So they're stuck at times. Did you find that in your work?
Exactly. It's like your car is spinning out of control and you're staring at the telephone pole. Guess what you're focused on? Guess what you're going to run into? Versus look at the 60-foot gap between the telephone poles. It's a lot easier to hit the gap when you're looking at the gap. Right. So what you focus on, you're going to feel, it's going to expand. That's what you're going to create. It's like telling a kid, don't run. And then they start running because you said run. No, I didn't. I said, don't run. Right. No, you said run. Right. No, I said, don't run. No, you said run. I heard you. Well, how come everybody else kept going? Because they weren't listening. And we can sit here and battle over who heard what or who said what, or we just change the language, focus on what you actually want. Hey, kid, could you walk safely? Could you walk with self-control? Could you walk slowly? But we don't train ourselves, very rarely at least, to say what we actually want. Hey, could you say that a little bit slower for me, please? I didn't quite catch it and I want to understand you. Just ask for what you need, ask for what you want. People can change, but they don't know if they don't get feedback.
Right, right. This is Chapters. This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. I'm Steve Vaccaro, your host. We're here every Wednesday from 6 to 6:30 p.m. With Stephanie and Steve. And tonight, Stephanie's not here, but we have Jeremy here. Now, Jeremy, you're an international Kung Fu champion.
Yes, sir.
That takes internal strength, internal discipline, and really an ability to really capture what your really feelings are. Do you use that Kung Fu championship title or that work that you do in that arena in the work that you do to help others?
Oh, 100%, right? Easy way to feel it is we talk about in our Kung Fu system, we talk about here and now, otherwise known as space and time. Because here, this is the space we're in. Now is the time. There's only this moment. There's only this opportunity, because if you take care of it, the next opportunity will continue to feed you positive things. but it's all about your energy in the moment. How are you showing up? And so a lot of times I'll work with my clients and, shoulders back, head up, nice and tall, and then say, I feel terrible. And they do, and they don't. No, I feel good. This feels good. Cool. Now round your shoulders, put your chin in the hole down the floor and say, I feel wonderful. No, I don't feel wonderful. Awesome. Shoulders back up one more time. Say, I feel wonderful. Just that pattern within 10 seconds, you can realize your own energy. Because if you're feeling small, sad, or cold inside, what's the energy you're going to give to other people? It's very difficult to have it be warm, big, and happy. But if I'm in a warm, big, happy place inside, a lot easier to give it to other people. And that doesn't mean I'm better than them or above them. It's just I'm in a more resourceful state, then I'm going to find results quicker and easier. And fighting in a safe, consensual way, not like life and death on the street, but competition and fighting is a great way to recognize your energy in the moment, because there's no would have, could have, should have. You got punched, you got kicked, you got to own that, because that's the reality. Now, can you let it go and recover and focus back in the moment? And we see this in sports, we see this in business, we see this in relationships, we see this in parenting, we see it in driving. Like this idea of energy moving through time and space, that's life. But are you attached to the impact, or can you move beyond it? Can you transcend it? Can you transmutate it into something? Somebody throws negative energy at you and you agree with them. And they're, what? No, you have every right to feel that way. Huh? It's the same as someone throws a punch and you catch that and you guide it and redirect it. No, you want to throw the punch? Great. Let me get out of the way. I don't want to be so rude. Please continue. And then you run them into the wall, because I'm just going to help you get there. I'm going to add to the conversation. So that's kind of the way to play. That's why in our system we call it playing Kung Fu, because you're cultivating a skill. You got to have a playful attitude, like lion cubs or tigers. When they play to develop skill. Stay relaxed. Don't take it so personal. Then it's easier to bounce back. It's easier to improve. But when we get super rigid, that's when we get hit and it hurts the worst.
I love your analogies because they're real life. And when you talk about Kung Fu, I mean, you're talking about real life situations in a match or in what you're doing in any sport. And in a sport, you have to act right then and there. And that's like life. But sometimes people don't act right then and there in life. And that reinforces the focus of where we all need to be. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you an easy example. I talk about this idea, take conflict and turn it into connection. And I do a lot of work with men in their marriage and their relationship with their wives. Think about, there was a time my wife and I, we got into it. And I don't remember what exactly we were fighting about at the time, but it was just all of a sudden, like we're both going at it and I'm saying stuff and I'm trying to defend myself and she's, escalating because she's not feeling heard and she's getting more tense. And I said something that disarmed her and made her want to connect with me. And we had a much bigger conversation and got to clarity with each other. And it was basically, I love you. I've looked for you my whole entire life. I don't want to fight with you. I want to love you. I'm on your side. And because I disarmed myself, I put my weapons down. I stopped arguing with her. It made it okay for her to do the same thing. And then she wanted to connect with me and she wanted to have a conversation. But I had to know how to stay present to what the bigger truth was between us. This is a woman I've looked for literally for 30 years. I decided at 9 I wanted to be a dad, and it didn't happen until I was 39. I didn't get married till I was 38. And so because of that, like knowing there she is, that's Miss Autumn. But love her. That's our daughter, Miss Evie. She was in the NICU, came home on oxygen for 8 months. And that ability to turn that conflict into connection, there's some of our exchange kids. You have to stay relaxed. You have to be able to own the moment. You have to be able to agree with the other person because they're speaking from their heart. Even if you don't want to hear it, it's their truth. And if you make them wrong, they're going to continue to fight. When you make it okay for them to feel what they feel, it doesn't mean I agree, but you're allowed to feel that, because then we can actually find the real target, which isn't something between the two of us. It's something else. It's the past, it's a fear, it's a doubt, it's an insecurity. How do we get to what's real and step into that space? Well, that's a skill we got to practice. It's very rare. I did 30 years of work to get ready to get married, but I know that's not normal. That's not typical. And that's the benefit for my clients is, look, you don't have to have gone through decades of this material. You can just have me help you get the ladder and you can climb to the next level. Let's get there in days or weeks instead of months or years.
Interesting. Well said. Now you're an author. Talk about your books.
So I wrote this one, Is Your Best Child Ever? Is This Game Worth Winning? It's the only parenting book with a money back guarantee. And it came from, I had been teaching Kung Fu for 17 years. I had been teaching Kung Fu for 17 years at that point, and I kept seeing the same patterns in families. And it wasn't a lack of love as much as it was just the skillful communication. You know, your kid, I was that kid, don't run, and I would start sprinting. And then the teachers are like, hey, I said not to run. I'm not running, I'm sprinting. And I would argue with them. And am I being oppositional defiant, or were you as the adult being sloppy in what you asked me to do? Because I complied, I just didn't comply in your little box.
Right.
And so because of that, like, I worked really well with those kinds of kids, and I saw the parents struggle. So I was like, well, here, and I started creating little scripts, little programs. Here's how we address self-control and focus and respect and self-discipline, self-confidence, self-motivation, accountability. And so that's kind of where the book came from, was there's these little chunks of information, little bits of Kung Fu, skill and ability developed through hard work over time. And if you can install this with your kids, life gets easier. And so I put a money back guarantee on that because at the time I was single, I wasn't married, I wasn't dating, I didn't have kids of my own, but I had literally decades of working with families and kids. And in my martial arts school, if I'm mean, the kids can quit. So I have to be an influential leader. I have to make classes interesting. Parents don't have to make home life interesting. The kids aren't going to leave. You know, emancipation is a big, messy process. So a lot of times parents are just, let's just give you some more resources. And so again, get the book, get a ladder, climb to the next level, and it's all common language. There's an audible version of it too, so you literally have me coaching you for 5.5 hours. But it's designed to, like, here's what's going on, here's the pattern, no fault, no blame, no guilt, no shame, no finger pointing, just appreciating the people in front of you and what's going on, so we have choices and we have more opportunities to really connect and understand each other. And the more you put that into a family, the less stress. Right? I had a mom, a dad, and a daughter, and they're all auditory. So whenever there's a problem, we got to talk about it. And the 6-year-old son, he's 5 or 5, 6, he's visual kinesthetic. And so every time there's a problem, they're going to talk, and he's melting because it's boring and the talking, and he can't create the mental pictures. And it's not because he doesn't care. He's just out of rapport with his family. But if we don't change that, when he's 15, he's going to feel like nobody cares about me. All you guys ever do is talk, and he's going to disassociate from the family or detach, and he's going to go to where people make him feel important and make him feel seen because he's visual kinesthetic. So it's not a lack of love. It's just a different constellation of communication. Let's just change that.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I cover in the book, is that exact example.
Wow. You know, believe it or not, we're almost out of time. I can't believe how time flies when you're having fun. But what's the most rewarding aspect of what you do and the most challenging?
The most rewarding is when I get the text message from the dad, from the man, who says, holy, this works. Because they had a moment of conflict that he turned into connection, and his relationship with his wife, with his kids, deepened. And he feels more confident. He feels more like a king. He feels more like I'm leading from the front, and my family loves and respects me. That is the coolest thing. And the most frustrating thing is, I love men. They are such strong warriors and fighters for the things they see are true and real. And their willingness to, I'm going to figure it out myself and DIY it, I respect it, and I get frustrated with it, because you lose 10 years with your kids, no amount of money is going to get that back. And, 8 to 18 years old, that's a massive change in a human being. So, like, dude, just hire me and let's go forward on this and save yourself time, because the one thing you will never get back is wasted time.
Right.
And so that's like my biggest frustration. I'm like, I put out a lot of content, a lot of different material, lots of different places, just to offer people the opportunity. Hey, let's take a step forward. And I know they won't do it till the season's right for them. And for a lot of guys, they need to be in more pain and more misery before they're willing to ask for help. And I hate to see that, but they are where they are. That's the season they're in. And I know, because I've been that guy too. So that's like my biggest frustration.
You know, it's interesting when you saw the picture of your wife up on the screen, you paused and said, I love her. And I think that is important to say to loved ones, a wife, a sister, a mom, a brother, you know, a cousin, a relative, a friend that's struggling. Why do you love your family?
Dude, my family is, for a long time, I didn't have a place that I felt like I belonged, or a place that I was wanted or needed, or I just didn't have a place like a puzzle piece that's just kind of doesn't go anywhere. And I got these people, I made some of these people, and they like me, and they think I'm cool, and they listen, and they want to do stuff. And like, let's go play. There's an old Calvin and Hobbes comic where Calvin's waking up, and it's the boy and his stuffed tiger. But Calvin's waking up, and Hobbes like just nails him out of bed and goes racing off. And he's like, finally, you're awake. We can do stuff again. And the last panel is Calvin to the camera saying, it's hard to be mad at someone who misses you while you're asleep. And I've got people like that. And it's the coolest thing. Even when we're frustrated with each other, even when we're like in tension, it's like, dude, you're still, I love you. You're amazing. Tell me more about what's going on. I'll get out of my way. And being able to give them that experience, and them start to do that to me as well. And they can like, hey, Dad, I'm going to get out of my way. Tell me more. What's going on for you? Like, high five, kid. You're amazing. You know, and like today, my wife got me a surprise at Dunkin', and she's like, "Tell me you love me." And I was like, "Babe, there are TikToks, there are YouTubes, there are articles, there's a book, like there's all these things. My love for you is so freaking obvious, and I love you." And then like she gave me like a surprise. It was just like, we have this banter and this playfulness. It's the coolest thing. Life is too short for bad food, and life is too short for bad marriages.
I love it. You're an inspiration, man. I'm sorry we can't go on and on and on. We're gonna have to get you back on this show when
My pleasure.
Stephanie is with us. But how can people get a hold of you or contact you?
Well, the nice thing is I'm the only Jeremy Roadruck in the world, because there's only about 300 of us on the planet. So I'm easy to find. I'm not shy. I'm most active on Facebook. I do have content on TikTok that's designed just to be consumed. I've got YouTube channel. And yeah, there's all the everywheres. But if you just type in Jeremy Roadruck, you will find me, and feel free to reach out, message me. I'm always willing to grab 15 minutes. I'll buy you 15 minutes of my time. Let's talk. What's going on? I've got resources, tools, tactics. I've been in the personal development space 42 years this year. And I've been working and serving others since 1995. And at this point, as we're recording it, it's about 28 years that I've been helping others. So I got connections, and I'm always willing. Look, I might not be the right person for you, but I know someone who you should go talk to. But usually I got like 3 or 4.
And that's important because we're not meant to have all the answers. We're meant to be resourceful and connect people all the time, all day, every day, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. 100%.
Yeah. Well, man, God bless you and your family and all the work that you do. This has been a pleasure. This half hour flew by, and we're going to have to keep your number in our Rolodex here and look you up and get you back on this show real soon.
Yes, sir. And I actually have a friend here in Florida I want to connect you with, because as you were talking about all the work Chapters does, he does something similar with addiction and homelessness. So the two of you may be able to like share some resources and some strategies. So I'm going to be connecting you guys here probably tomorrow.
No doubt. You ever come to the west coast of Florida, we're at Tan Talk there in Clearwater, St. Petersburg, and Tampa Bay. We'll get you in the studio and promote your work even more. God bless, man.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I'd love to do that.
God bless. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for the opportunity, Steve.
Thank you. We'll see you next week on Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb with Stephanie and Steve. Love each other. God bless. We'll see you next time.